Peace, y'all. Welcome back to the Klyph Notes podcast. Appreciate y'all tapping in, man. Got a great episode for y'all to check out. Had a chance to chop it up with a cat who's been in rooms during some of the recordings of some of our favorite projects from this art form that we love called hip hop. A close confidant, DJ, and friend of one of the best to ever do it, and now has been involved with releasing Forever, the upcoming Phife Dawg project. Ladies and gentlemen, check out episode number 133 of the Klyph Notes podcast, featuring DJ Rasta Root. Let's go. Support for the Klyph Notes podcast comes from Akepele Apparel, an idea born from a love of hip-hop, funk, and soul music and its surrounding cultures. With fashion being a huge visual part of the cultures, they've created expressive images to pay homage, invoke nostalgia, and showcase the elements that make up the lifestyle and cultures of these genres. Akepele, apparel for the music lifestyle. For more information, check out akepele.com. That's AKEPELE.com. Yes, yeah. Welcome back to another episode of the Klyph Notes podcast. So dope to have an opportunity to chop it up with this cat. A gentleman who has been in this game for years and years and is in the midst of getting ready to release a project that I'm super excited for, that we should all of us that are fans of hip hop should be super excited for. It's dropping in 2022. This gentleman goes by the name of DJ Rasta Root. What's good?
What up, man? What is up? Am I coming in loud and clear?
Yeah, man, you're coming in nice, B. Yo, so just off top, man, once again, thank you so much for doing the podcast, man. Definitely appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me. I really am looking forward to this.
No doubt. Hey, yo, so like, man, right off top, man, this is a time of celebration, a time of reflection, as you prepare for the release of Forever, man. Mm-hmm. And it's a project that, like I said, we've been waiting on for a minute, but I wanted to sort of go back and talk about the idea of putting this project together.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, people have to understand that Phife's been working on his solo album. He had Ventilation out in 2000 or 2001. I can't remember which year it was, so long ago. But he's been working of different iterations of the album since then, really, And I feel like when I listen back to the music and the maturity of the music up until he transitioned in 2016, including in working with Tribe on their last album, it was literally like being in like a soloist like university, where it took him years to kind of finally get his rhythm. We put songs out, we've tried to kind of like get his sound right, and there was times his pen was on, there's times his pen wasn't on, and I think up until the time he transitioned, it was the sharpest his pen had been. For several reasons. I think he finally matured in his own voice is one part of it, and number two, going back in the studio with Jerobi and Q-Tip and being around, the Busters and the Redmans, they weren't letting anything slide. You know what I mean? Like, so it was like, eat or be eaten. So I think it made him like step up and like really like focus on his pen. And I think, having me around is one thing, but having like legends like that telling you, no, try it like this, do it better. You can do it better. Take a break, whatever. Breathe like this. Say it like this. I couldn't do that for him. You know what I mean? I think I can only take him so far as motivating him, but as far as like being around your peers and being around people that take that seriously, it had to happen in that way for him to really, it was like the final test. Like fighting the final boss was going and recording with them in Jersey, because it was like very intense, creative energy in there,
Yeah, and it's funny, man, because when I think back, I can remember hearing that Phife was working on solo music and that the album was coming and sort of anticipating that, and then it seemingly out of nowhere, Tribe is about to drop an album, And so now looking back on that and having that understanding of what you just described, like he was working on his own music at the same time. I can see how that would bring out a whole different energy to what he was doing.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the timeline would be, off and on discussions of Tribe doing an album, and it never happened. This is years. So after a while, I always kind of kept faith and be like, it could happen. It could happen to him. He's like, that ain't happening. Like literally, in his rhymes, you'd hear he says it like, couldn't get stuff together. Da da da. Yeah. So when the group did, they did Jimmy Fallon. That was the kind of the start of like, and I think the thing in Paris happened, the bombing in Paris. Yeah. That's when the conversations started about the album, and at the same time, they were celebrating their, I think it was a 20 or whatever anniversary was of the first album. And Sony Legacy re-released the first album. And so there was some press stuff they did. And so the energy, I think it kind of was like a full circle thing where Phife was the last one to say yes, to be honest with you. It was like a whole thing where like, let's do it. Because he'd been saying yes to all these years. Yeah. For him, it was like all of a sudden now things are happening. I've been saying yes for years. Like, why are y'all late? You know what I mean? That's what his whole thing was. So it took him a while, and it was at the party it was at Santos, and I have the video of when they were on the mic, and it was around that time. Redman was there, the whole group was there, and other people, and I think they just felt like something just clicked. Yeah. And I think at that party, Phife leaned over to Tip and was like, "All right, let's do it." And that was like. That's when that happened. Now I heard about that after, like maybe days after that. That's when it happened. Yeah. But I think he got caught up in the energy of okay, I'm around. I'm familiar with these people. I'm getting comfortable with them again. Okay, let's do it. You know what I mean? So from then on, that was in 2015. That was in end of 2015. Then they did the Busta concert in Jersey. Also, they did Scenario that was the last time they performed. Actually, wow. That was the last time they performed. There was that one song with him. And then that was kind of like the impetus for them to be like, we're really going to do this. And then we started going to Jersey, I think starting in December or January. Initially, they wanted to put the album out New Year's going into 2016. Mm-hmm. But there was just an impossible goal. Yeah. Just creatively, they hadn't recorded in years. Yeah. So we started going to Jersey, and then we would be at Tip's house, and they'd be in the studio alone. Then there'd be a whole bunch of people. Then they'd be alone, and we'd just be there. Yeah. Like I was down there living in Jersey for a few months. Yeah, yeah. And that's how that all. And then in the midst of all that, because we were in New York and Jersey, he and I decided, let's start taking meetings and let's go talk to Penalty Records. Let's go talk to all these indies and see if we can get on the docket for a release. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The idea of working on that, as you mentioned, the timeline, man, and sort of initially thinking, okay, maybe we can do this, release this in January of 2016, and then the unfortunate passing, soon months later after the anticipated release of the Tribe album. I mean, so much happened in that short amount of time, so much emotion, obviously. As Phife is recording his solo project, obviously you talk about the energy that he had, but what was his mindset in terms of his health and just looking at the big picture? Yeah, that's the thing. So we were going to Jersey. I want to say it was like for a few days at a time, then go home. A few days at a time and go home. But I think after a while, the traveling took a toll on him a little bit. Yeah. So up until our last trip, like there were a couple of times I would see him. We'd go to Tip's house around 7 or 8 p.m. Go stay there till 3. Go back to the hotel. I remember this one particular time. He was in my room after, and I was like, yo, man, go in your bed. Like, you got to get up at 5 for dialysis. And when he left, I was like, who is this person? Because his energy was just like super focused. He was energetic, which typically he would be very tired. Yeah. And I think a lot of factors were involved. One part says that he was just excited that things were moving with that stale part of his life, which was the group and their music. And he was excited about just recording and just getting out there again with his brothers. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. The other side is, I think, something spiritual that was driving him to just work really hard. And he was blessed with the energy to keep going and enjoy the last few months of his life. I think that's a big part of it too. That's what's up, man. Yeah.
So we, I've been bumping the remix for Nutshell, right? And hearing that, just hearing anytime you hear Red on the record, Busta on the record, Phife on the record, hear them on the record together, the visuals. I mean, have an opportunity to see these cats all together. That kind of gets you excited. Kind of getting a sense of, all right, what's, what may be coming, what else is coming behind this.
Sure. And
then we get a chance to hear French Kiss, which is the second single that dropped. And it's, bruh, I barely speak English. It's French Kiss Trois?
Yeah, Trois, yep.
Okay.
Which is 3 in French. Yep.
Okay, there it is. So man, just so much good content that gives us sort of a peek at what the album is going to feel like, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think well, you have to think we had the Nutshell beat like since like 13, 14, I think.
Yeah.
It was on a Dilla CD, and then we ended up kind of like looping it and kind of like making it our own. And then as that song developed, we had, because we were in Jersey all the time, we said, hey, we could actually shoot a video for this. We could actually shoot a video for this because Busta's here, Redman's here, and we were there. Yeah. We would have minimal expenses. We'd have expenses obviously, but we could get it done. We just had to find a studio to do it, and we were luckily. One of the photographers, who's a good friend of mine, he's from Hot 97. He told us about YouTube Studios, which is a YouTube-owned video and sound stage kind of place where if you have 1 million subscribers, you're able to utilize the facility for free.
Oh, word.
And so we went through Hot 97, and our agreement was when the song dropped, we would let them push it on their platform, and we were able to get in that way. So we made a $100,000 video with $10,000. You know what I mean? Because they have all the camera gear, they have the lens, and we were able to bring our director from Atlanta, and it just worked out. And that was another chance for him to hang out with his brothers, which was Red. Busta was there, Consequence was there. Lord Digga, was it Lord Digga? What's his old name? Lord Digga is his newer name, but I can't remember his name, but DITC producer. And get to hang out and really shoot a video. We had shot the regular Nutshell in Atlanta, and then we had this remix. So no one, we were gonna drop the regular version, and then have the remix. So we were lining up, bullets in the chamber, like we had a plan happening. And so unfortunately, when he passed, his family's like, we want to give music back to his fans. So we put out, the video was done for the regular Nutshell. Yeah. We put that out. And then we had this remix that was going to appear on the album with the video. So we had big plans, you know what I mean? In that sense. So holding on to Nutshell Part 2 for all those years was hard because we knew we had a good record. We knew we had something that the fans would gravitate towards. And that was like, that to me, that was besides me having to keep the secret about Tribe recording their album, which no one knew.
Exactly.
The next best kept secret would be us having Nutshell Part 2. That's the timeline in my life of big epic things that I had like information on that no fan had, and I'm a fan too, so it was kind of exciting at the same time,
No doubt. So I mean, then that brings me to where we're coming up on now, man. In terms of having content, and obviously, as you're producing a record, there's so much more that goes on after the actual recording process. But now we're gonna be 6 years out from Phife's passing when this drops, man. That's quite a bit of time for you to sit with the material that was recorded, to work on final production. Some of the things that we have to obviously look forward to. Was that challenging? Was it helpful to be in that space and relive the moments of recording? Was it what was that like for you? Kind of working on this for all these years.
Yeah. I mean, it was very challenging because there's an emotional attachment to the project. So every time I hear his voice, every time I have a memory of recording the album or discussing the album, I could get emotional for years. For years it was hard. I think the whole family was like we were at a standstill because we didn't know. We've never put an album out before. He had put a solo album out, but he had a lot of assistance from a label. We didn't have a label, so we actually were just trying to do it on our own and then present it. And then we realized, I think the mom and the wife realized, this is a daunting task.
Yeah.
Let's actually get a label involved or some type of support that can kind of help guide us and give us an infrastructure or some type of machine to allow us to like do the work. And once that happened, it allowed me to just really just be creative and really just focus on the music that I remembered. You know what I mean? That what he wanted on the album, what he didn't want, the features he wanted, beats that were like didn't have raps to them. We had to put raps to them, and vice versa. And luckily, that's why I feel like in a divine way, it was kind of preordained because he left a very decent like infrastructure, a skeleton for us, where there's not a lot of Frankensteining to get the songs together. There's not a lot of, maybe he would like this beat. Most of the beats, I would say 90% of the beats are beats that he heard and recorded on.
Yeah.
And then the other 10% are ones that I know as his best friend that he would love. So there was kind of like a no way to mess it up, like putting on, sometimes you get like these posthumous albums and the features just don't make sense. Right. Or the beats don't make sense. This is the closest thing to him leaving us like a manuscript of what he wanted. So I'm excited because I really think I'm excited because I know he would be excited. That's what it boils down to. I know the attention he's been getting with the solo album and all those things. He would be excited about that. He wouldn't sleep because of these kind of things, Yeah. Like all the press has been incredible. I don't know what the press would be if he were here. You know how that works with, you know what I mean? But it's been incredible. And in that sense, I'm going to go along with the divine thought that this is just the way it was meant to be,
That's what's up, man. So in terms of the project, can you share any of the specifics on productions or features, or we want to hold off?
Not really, only because I think part of the reveal of the album and part of the allure is that people are going to be surprised, People are going to be surprised with the features that are on there. The production, I venture to say, sounds to me what the typical Tribe fan would expect after their long hiatus when they broke up in '96. The natural progression of the sound. And of course, with that being said, there's also a grittiness, which is the Phife side of it's not as smooth, it's just gritty, not grimy, but just gritty. Yeah. Gritty enough where he would say, yo, that has that bounce I like. You know what I mean? He used to call it a bounce. And, producers like Jay Dilla, Knots, and a couple others, they have that bounce, and that's as much as I could say.
Yeah.
But because I want everybody to be surprised, even like my family has heard some of the songs. Mm-hmm. My niece actually helped with the transcribing of the lyrics. Phife has known her since she was maybe 2 years old. So they had kind of like their own little connection. So I felt it was important, besides the employment, it was important for her to kind of spend time with him too, in that sense. So I think that's been helpful for her. And I like that. I like that everybody who's on the album and working on the album had some, if not minute, experience with Phife, where it makes sense. Like we've had collaborators and artists trying to come in to do artwork and stuff, and to me, it wouldn't make sense if they haven't sat down with him for a meal or sat down with him and had jokes with him, because that's to me what is guiding the project is the familiarity of people that he's worked with that are also being entrusted with a part of the album. Not just me having this hard drive that has all his stuff on it, but it's also me knowing the friends he had and the people that he cared about and respected having a part in his legacy.
That's what's up, man. It's interesting. We get to a certain point in our lives and we lose people, and people who are special to us. We want to find ways to celebrate them and keep their memory alive. And you're doing this with his family for someone who we know was a really good friend of yours, who was a business partner, who was I mean, y'all were road dogs, and but then you're also doing this for someone who has been so celebrated in this art form for so many years, so well respected. Everybody loves Phife, right? That combination of those things coming together for this album, for me, as a fan of music, as a fan of the art form, makes it really special. The title of the album, Forever, I think sort of, if it's fair to say, kind of speaks to that, the idea that this is not just, oh, we want to remember this person in this time capsule. We want to remember this person forever.
Absolutely. And I think that's it. And I think even with him, I'll say this, there's a song on the album that is the last song he recorded, on the mic at all. And that's kind of what defined the title of the album. You know what I mean? It's actually a song called Forever, and it's bugged out when I think about it even to this day, because it's very prophetic. It's all prophetic. And that's kind of helps with the healing and the grief, because, you kind of understand that the plan is bigger than yours. The plan is not Phife's. The plan is not Tribe's. It's not mine. It's not his parents. It's not his wife. It's God's plan. You know what I mean?
Amen.
And the universe's plan. And so with that being said, I have no choice but to go along and respect that. I have no choice but to go along and honor that plan. You know what I mean? And if I'm asked to be a part of it, I have to be a part of it. I can't do what I want for it. I'm just following a script, That's how I feel like I'm following a script. So one line in one of the songs, he says, "What shall be, shall be." And so that particular line has carried me through the album, because it makes me feel like if we have a plan in place or something we want and it doesn't happen, however it ends up happening is what it was supposed to be. And so you can't really lose with that. You can't really feel disappointment, because you know that at the end of the day, once everything is done, it's the way it was supposed to be. We're just, like I said, following the script, So I'm thankful for his wife. I'm thankful for his parents for trusting me. Well, obviously Phife trusting me kind of by default makes them trust me, but I think that's where it comes from. Yeah. But in particular, his father over the last few years has called me we talk like once a week, every other week, and he'll just ask me, "How's the music coming along?" It's so crazy. Like my first time meeting them, and I'll go back a little bit, was like, I don't know, meeting his father. Phife and I were doing like our own little promo run, trying to promote a record, and we had rented a car, and we drove from New York to Connecticut to see his dad. Yeah. So I was like driving the car. So since then, I don't know why he does it, but he calls me the driver. Hey, what's up, the driver? Like this is like from 1999, 2000, like. And so he calls me the driver. Hey, the driver, how's the album coming along? How's the music coming along? And then he's very spiritual, so he doesn't quote any of the Bible, but he gives me like that energy, keep going with this. This is the way God sees it, and that keeps my energy right and keeps me knowing that I'm doing the right thing. Yeah. Because part of it is it's a big responsibility, you know what I mean? And you don't want to mess up anybody's legacy. You don't want to disappoint anybody's family. So beyond the album and getting it done, it's also like a lot of pressure, which I'm slowly becoming used to, of what I need to do for his family,
Yeah, that's huge, B. Yeah. One of the things that I think about is, so there was the time between Phife releasing anything musically as a solo artist, obviously Tribe releasing music. Mm-hmm. He was also he's also just a very public figure in terms of his love of sports and being in those circles. Right. People getting to know him through his love of sports, and that maybe that introduced him to his music. But there's also been a time where people, unless they tapped into to the music that has been released, don't really know Phife. And so this album coming out next year, man, it may be an opportunity to introduce people to this human being who, once again, such a big part of this art form that we all love, man. I mean, has that thought hit you at all, that, man, like, may create a whole new audience that people can go back and see his catalog, or go back and see the work that he's done even outside of music?
I think definitely. I think music is cyclical, so this is bound to happen where kids will go back and dig and listen to MF Doom. Yeah. And maybe their passing is the reason why, sometimes the impetus for them to go look back, because of so much media and press, Yeah. And it's a new way of advertising. And then there's other people that their parents were listening to Tribe and Phife and Doom and whoever else. Or sometimes you just follow trends, you see a whole bunch of hashtags with, Phife Forever. And when it happens, it's a lot of them, you're probably going to look at it. And if that's how they receive the product, if that's how they receive the information, then it's all good. You know what I mean? There's no bad way of learning about an artist. You know, like there's kids that are 14 that inbox him on Instagram and like, hell, my dad used to listen to you and I learned from this and then. I think that's the way it should be. Like that's the same as us being in our parents and grandparents' houses and them playing records and us getting put on to like the Marvin Gayes and you know the Donny Hathaways and all that kind of stuff. So it's just a different way of doing it. You know,
no doubt. March 22nd of 2016 wait a minute, March 22nd of 2022 is when it drops.
Right.
Man, I got to get these numbers straight.
Yeah, correct. So, no, it's all good. And it makes sense because that's in 16, that's the day he transitioned. So my thought and my message to his family and what my thought was is let's turn that day that was tragic for us into a day of celebration.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to celebrate his passing. I want to celebrate his birth. And then the birth of his album, which so March 22nd, 22 is the birth of his album. November 20th, 70 is his birthday. So that's when we celebrate his life. So instead of celebrating death, we're going to celebrate life.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. The goal is to get everybody on board, to let people know that this is coming, and so that this celebration can be global. And
Sure.
we want to really help to push that, man. What can we all do, man? What can we all do to help this process, to make sure that people are ready for it?
I noticed, I think I figured it out. I noticed that when I posted the announcement for his album, the last kind of words before the hashtag, I said, please help spread the word. And that's all I can really ask is if you get the post or you get information, just send it to a couple friends. And that's kind of the organic, you know, way of doing things. And we're not trying to like force anything down anybody's throat, but we also want to expose them to it. So if you or whoever, the more people you tell, the more people are going to listen. And it's not even about the sales or trying to like do that. It's more so just like, I think it's an impactful album for the culture. It really is. I feel like musically, the timing of it, the sound of it. We have Ali Shaheed and Bob Power mixing and mastering it. So It's going to sound like a Tribe album. You know what I mean? It's going to sound like one. Like sonically, it's incredible. Like me as a fan, like I've known Power for years, but knowing that he's going to help us get this album sounding right, because Ali did the first two. He did Nutshell Part 2, and he did French Kiss, both versions of it. He got really busy with working on The Equalizer, which is Latifah's show. Mm-hmm. Bob was already mastering it, so we were like, you know what? Ali can't do it. We're very thankful and for sure happy he was able to. And now Bob has it, and Bob has the rest of the song. So I can't imagine what that experience is going to be. You know, one part is the music and what you hear as far as like content. The other part is sonically what that does to your body and how it makes you feel. And I think that's that feel good that I think Phife was also big on. It's like how to make you feel. What's the bounce like? And I think I can't think of a better person than Bob Power to continue Ali's work and to make that happen.
That's what's up, man. Well, obviously for all of the podcast listeners, we'll all be on it. And then, you know, for our radio stations up here in Portland, man, continuing to bump the singles and looking forward to the album release, so that we can just bless the airwaves with what Phife left us, man, and just appreciate the work that you have done, continue to do for this art form, man. I just want to say thank you for that.
No, for sure, man. It's like, I mean, I think it's the biggest honor as a fan of the art form and a fan of the culture to be a part of it. If it's going to be something of this magnitude, I'm glad that I was given the time to spend with him, so that now that he's not here, I have the manuscript of what needs to be done to make the album what he would want it to be.
That's what's up. Chopping it up with DJ Rasta Root. Yo, man, if people want to tap in, if they want to follow you and know the journey and know how they can be involved, or just be connected with the work that you're doing, which I want to touch on in just a minute.
Sure.
How can people do that?
Yeah, so more important than myself, I would say the best two places would be at Phife Forever. That's PHIFE FREVER. That's his Instagram and his Twitter. Sorry. So any updates you want on his work or what he's working on or what we're working on for him, you'll find there. And then beyond that, the website where you can get his merch will probably have other musical items and other, forms of Phife on there. It'd be Phife-Forever. So anything that happens with his album or anything like that will be in those two places. And then mine is at DJ Rasta Root, DJ RASTA ROOT, and that's where you'll find everything I'm working on for Phife, as well as my own DJ and my, whatever else I'm involved in.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, we're gonna make sure, like I said, we get the word out. Put the information in the show notes for this episode of Klyph Notes.
Sure, thank you.
One last final thing, bruh. The prototype joint, bro, that you did.
You have it?
Oh, bruh, I've been playing that one on air, man. That's been in sets for real, man. It's
That's
so
crazy. Are you a house DJ more than anything, or you just throwing it in there?
Nah, man. Just that's one of the blessings about I do 2 radio shows up here in Portland, man, and just sort of open format on the air. I have the blessing of playing whatever, and when I hear joints, man, I just
awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome. You're lucky to have that outlet. That's great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's about. I mean, and that's one of the I feel so blessed to be in this position, man, to be able to just really share good music. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like I said, like as you are just a fan of music, and I think it's important to really put out there what I categorize as good music. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, absolutely, going into sets, man. It's such a dope joint. Yeah.
And it's so crazy. I mean, just to give you a little background on that, so I teach hip hop composition at Emory University, and one of the classes we had was on, we use Serato Studio, which is a production DAW that Serato has, and I was teaching them beat gridding, which is locking in your music so that you can warp it slow or fast or whatever. And that Prototype is one of the songs that I would usually play at the end of the night, just because of the tempo and the vibe, or when you want people to leave, like you play it, or if you just love the song, you play it, because it's to me it's one of the most. It's funny. My friend asked me a few years ago. She sent me a meme. I'm sorry, a few weeks ago, before I even did it, maybe a week or two before I did it. And she's like, if aliens came to town, what song would you play for them in order for them to kind of like be at peace with us? And I picked Prototype. This is before I even did it. It's crazy. Yeah. And then when I fast forward, as I'm editing the video, because I have a version, they won't let me post it because of the copyright, but I have the video synced with the Prototype house version I did, so it's a little faster. Yeah. But because it's alien themed, it fit in perfectly, their movements and stuff. But then I look back to my answer to her question, I'm like, wow, it's kind of like this is supposed to be a kind of way. And maybe talking about the song put it in my head. Yeah. But anyway, I showed the class how to beat grid music, and I picked Prototype as something to beat grid. When I beat grid it locked in perfectly. And then I just sped it up to like it's 76 BPMs. I typed in 115 on the, because I wanted to be dancey, but not full house, but just right in the pocket. Yeah. And so once it locked in and I sped up to 115, I changed the key so it didn't sound chipmunky. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, this is perfect, right? So then I started working on it, building the 4 on the floor drums. I found a piece of the song that was the sound bed that gave the whole vibe. And then I was like, yo, and I showed the class. And then on my own, I was like, yo, I'm finishing this. This is, this is dope. Like, and then I'm finishing it and just like, yeah, it was the rollout was like in 2 days. I did it Monday in class. It was done by Tuesday. It was done. So I sent it to all my DJ friends, the spinners, solo on the horn, and it just got around. And I think it's the kind of thing where, it's 20 years old, so it's going to be that. But I think it is something fun to have in your crates.
No doubt. But there again, just like we're talking about, man, it's just it's good music. You know what I mean? Yeah. And absolutely, I think good music has that. Yeah, it's absolutely timeless, man. Yep. So just wanted to give you your flowers on that. Sorry.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. And the crazy thing is, I just used the MP3 on my computer, but the way the song is mixed and structured, like 6-7 people asked me, how'd you get the stems for that? I was like, they're not the stems. I just literally just locked it in and laid stuff over it and kind of gave it little sprinkles here and there. And that to me that's making music. Like, it could be anything, and you just add a couple touches and it becomes your own, So now I play that in the middle of my sets. I can play it at the height of the night, and in a classic vibe versus trying to get people to leave the club,
No doubt. Yep. Bro, once again, it's really an honor and a pleasure to be able to chop it up with you like this, and grateful for you really giving a lot of the background behind what's coming with Forever, dropping on March 22nd of next year. And just taking some time out of your day to chop it up with a fan, man. I just want to say thank you.
No, for sure, man. No, I appreciate it. This was a great conversation, and I'm glad you asked me to do this.
That's what's up. DJ Rasta Root, Phife Forever. It's dropping in March of next year. So be sure to tap in to all of those. Check the show notes for the links that you should be following. Real quick, man, I just want to say thank you to the supporters. Shout out to Akepele Apparel for their continued support for the Klyph Notes podcast. Big ups to XRAY FM and the Numberz FM in Portland for their support of everything that we do with DJ Klyph Productions. And last but never ever least, big ups to the homie Theory Hazit for creating the official theme song to the Klyph Notes podcast. Check it out everywhere you listen to podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Pandora, Audible, like literally everywhere you listen to audio. And once again, man, big ups to DJ Rasta Root for coming through. Appreciate you, Doc.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Until next time, y'all be blessed. Peace.